there was an opportunity to meet a WWE superstar on Monday night at the kind of breakout, and her name is Tiffany Stratton, and so I have had a bunch of WWE cards come through the shop, and we've had a lot of this autographs of actually not her but Trish Stratus. And so I don't know what it was. They're both blondes, and in my mind, when I went up there, I want to say congratulations, Tiffany, but I actually said congratulations, Trish. And so she looked at me and she goes, "My name's Tiffany," and I was like, "I'm so sorry." Like I'm just had a mind blank, and like she kind of, I don't know if she was in character or like because the WWE kind of have that character thing persona, or if she was truly mad because she kind of like threw up her fist, like I'm pissed, like, and I'm like, I think she was kind of playing into it a little bit, and it was really funny, but. I now know I will never mispronounce her name.
Jameel Muhammad and Jeff Cardozo dive into the hobby, which is sports cards, trading cards, as well as all other collectibles, right now on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast, live from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
Hey, everybody, welcome. It is another episode of the Meelypod Hobby Podcast. Jeff Cardozo, Jameel Muhammad, both in different places because it is that busy time of year. Jameel is coming back from Atlanta, had the top conference and all the things. So that's going to be a big prime part of what we will talk about today because I'm anxious to hear. And I know for those of you that weren't able to be a part of that, all the cool snazzy things that are of all of that in Atlanta. And then, of course, the NFL draft just happened. So we've got a lot to talk about there. But Jameel, I love seeing your face. It just sucks that it's not in person, man.
I know, man. I don't get to see that face too, that mug. But hey, look at your man cave going on back there. I like the wall and get the balls that are autographed behind you or something going on.
Yeah, I got a few things. Not as cool as the stuff you get in the store, but collection from over the years. I might even have something for you because I heard one of my favorite players of all time you got to interact with. So I'll show you something cool when we get to that part.
Yeah. That was fun. But yeah, it's we're mobile today. We're in different spots, but it's my voice is gone because of so much just talking and catching up with people from the conference, but also just a lot happening in the hobby. So I can't wait to share on that. I kind of broke down some thoughts and things that maybe we can kind of go over and be helpful for our listeners because not many people get to go to these conferences. It was limited, every shop was limited to one or two spots, and so it's really just the shop owners or the head breaker, and then you have all the tops folks there. So a lot happened this weekend.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And that's got to be fun to have that type of interaction. And I'm sure you probably even ran into several people we've had here on the podcast. That's always neat to be able to just reconnect with friends and buddies and just kind of talk ball or business or industry, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of both of that, right? It's kind of like that big family reunion / it's a little bit more informal and less busy than the national, so to say. So yeah, it was good, and just getting to be in Atlanta and the College Football Hall of Fame has so much, just so many, so I mean, just the wall of helmets in there is just such a cool backdrop. But yeah, things are good, and a lot of people asked, talked about the podcast. A lot of people were on the podcast and have had feedback as well, so that was kind of fun. Talking to the different card shop owners and breakers that we've had on. We'll definitely have somebody on from Tops eventually too, and it's a fun world the hobby is.
Yeah, we think it's cool to go into the Spurrier podcast room and see probably the 25 helmets or so there. They've got 1 million helmets right there when you walk in the College Football Hall of Fame. So really awesome. Well, you're talking about reunions and family and all that, and I guess Shador's family had to get together for 3 days instead of one. They hung out a lot longer than probably possible. I know that's the big talk of the draft, and a little crazy, obviously, but I think it does show you sometimes when personality doesn't, necessarily meet talent and all the other things. And sometimes NFL teams don't want some of the distractions and some of the things that go along with it. And obviously there was a lot of people that didn't grade him as a first round talent because, you can go back to last year and Caleb Williams and his cards, he was sort of the same way, maybe not as cocky, or at least some of the things you see on social media, but he said, I'm meeting with one team. I'm talking to one team. And he ended up getting picked number one. Now, Shador and Dion, and they had their words, and, maybe they fudged some interviews and didn't do well, but a lot of that interview process didn't seem to go well. And, I think a lot of GMs and coaches maybe were turned off by it. And we saw the biggest slide that we've ever seen. I'm anxious to see now, when it's all said and done, Does a Shador card, when it first comes out, does it have that appeal, or are we going to just judge this guy as maybe another fifth rounder that we may not ever talk about or may not even make the team?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big QB room, right, in Cleveland. I think they have 5 quarterbacks. I mean, and you have Deshaun just kind of sitting there, and what do you do with that? So I think it's an interesting dilemma in the hobby space for all of this, because it seems like every year evaluative methods from the draft are always different, right? Like some people put higher stake in this or versus that. Why did he truly fall to where he did? I don't know if we'll ever know. Like what caused that? And then now we say, is he going to be a bargain? Because a lot of people are putting his cards in 50% off bins, and he's being marked down a lot. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know if Cleveland's the best place for someone like him and his talent, but they'll have to make that system fit for him. I just it blows my mind, just how people have expectations into these drafts, and so many things seem to throw people for a loop. And that was, ESPN, and I'm sure, all the people covering the draft love that story because they could put the camera on him 18 million times and, talk about how he's fallen. But let's just see how he takes it. Will he be legendary, or will he be a flop, as he says, legendary? So we'll see what happens. The Browns and hopefully it lights a fire under him, and he does come through, because we need a strong quarterback class. And it's wild to see on the flip side of that. It's wild to see, Cam Ward get Steve McNair's jersey number, and those like rolling out the red carpet for that setup, and just not too long ago, Will Levis was supposed to be that guy. So things are interesting. They're moving a lot faster in the drafts, I feel like, and decisions maybe sometimes the smaller details in these interviews and in these viral videos and your socials, or how you handle NIL, like these kinds of things are really affecting draft stock, as we look forward.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, just from everything and how everything is judged, certainly. And yeah, we'll see how Kevin Stefanski can figure him out, and what that quarterback room is going to turn into. But it did, though, I thought, take away from the guy that you mentioned, Cam Ward, at the top of the order, because all of a sudden, right after Ward gets picked, you get the news of the trade, and then all of a sudden Jacksonville moves up, and now Travis Hunter is going to Jacksonville as opposed to Cleveland. And I just don't know if Cam Ward necessarily got his due, but I'm sure when it's all said and done, his cards will be the hot one and the one that everybody's going after. The one interesting one with Travis Hunter now, Jacksonville has this, maybe now huge superstar. And I thought it was a great move by them to move up and get that number 2 pick. And even though they gave up a first rounder next year too, I mean, you've got now maybe a face, and Trevor Lawrence hasn't lived up to it over the last couple of years. I'm sure his cards, not even close to what they were when they first came out. But Travis Hunter is going to be an interesting case, because can he be that guy? Can he be that two-way guy to go after it? I think more than anything, would you think his cards would be the ones that people want out of anybody in this draft?
Yeah, I think you're going to have him, Cam Ward, and then I do think Jackson Dart's an interesting play as well, because where he landed, and people are excited about quarterbacks in general. But Travis Hunter, we'll see what happens with Jacksonville, how he's handled, right? I mean, there's a whole new regime there. We got Mr. Duval, leading the pace, so he's leading the way. It's interesting to see. I think people are going to want his cards. Will he play both sides of the ball? I mean, is it possible for him to even do that? I mean, if he does, and he's successful in it, I mean, who have we had do that since Dion, right? I mean, who really done it since Dion? So this is going to be a very interesting study. I hope he stays healthy. I hope Jacksonville can, protect him in a lot of ways, not kill him for his rookie season. And then Trevor Lawrence cards and Brian Thomas cards, we've seen a kind of an uptick as well. And people saying, hey, look, you know what? His card Trevor's come down quite a bit. But if he can't do it with those two guys on the offensive side, if Travis Hunter plays wide receiver, maybe they got some bigger questions to answer in Jacksonville from that QB side. But I think with Travis Hunter, he's number one. He's incredibly marketable. And when I look at cards, this is a guy who streams, who's on video games, who's closest with, he's buddies with Kai Cenat, the biggest streamer in the world, and that generation of people really, really know who Travis Hunter is outside of collegiate football. So I really like that about him. I think he's a fun personality too. When you kind of see him, he loves to dance and he exudes fun. So and again, you saw it all with the Jacksonville press conference and when he came in and how he handled all that. So let's just see how this pans out. It's all peaches and roses and Easter bunnies right now. So we'll see what happens when, the rubber meets the road week one and into the first 3 weeks of the season. But I do think, his cards are very intriguing from a lot of different levels. It's not just the collectability side of it or his production side of it. I think his hype side and marketability side is a lot bigger than people realize.
And then really the last name that I thought was pretty fascinating through all this, only because of what I'm about to ask you is, right after the draft was over, you had your stupid guys out there already, the way too early 2026, draft list. And I wouldn't even click on it. Like I wasn't even going to mess around with that. But what I did click on was the person that wrote the article about now the top 20 NFL fantasy picks. And I'm going through it, and it was Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, of course, at the top. But then they actually had the 4th overall pick going to Ashton Genty as opposed to Saquon. They had Saquon going like 7th. I'm like, how are we going to take this guy that hasn't even played yet as opposed in front of Saquon Barkley? So I know the card world and the fantasy world have met in a lot of different places, and different things are happening. So I wonder if that then makes, if fantasy is already projecting him to be really, really good, then that might mean, gosh, this might be a guy you need to go get his cards as well early on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how to answer this question, Jeff, because I don't know if you're secretly like planting seeds for our fantasy drafts in the future. Like if you're trying to mess with me about, we're going to wind up at 4 and 5 or 6
That's
picks
right.
or something. So I'm not sure if I can answer this, candidly. No, but Genty also is another guy who I think has a unique personality, writing that draft letter to all the coaches and, kind of saying, look, I'm here to win Super Bowls. I want to be that level of Saquon. Now, Saquon, I mean, it's amazing what he's done. And for me to think like that people would put Genty above him would be crazy. And I think in my mind, but who knows? I mean, a lot to be seen with Genty, right? How is his style going to play into the NFL? Because he's not the giant speedster, but he is the bruiser. You know what I mean? And these kinds of things. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. That you can say the same thing about Scatabo. Did he wind up in a place where he can actually, run that style, or is he just going to be used as a fullback and a blocker? So these kinds of things I'm excited to see. These players. It's changing everything in the hobby. I do know Genty and Hunter are going to be really sought after. Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, I think are going to be probably going to be the top 4. I think cards people are going to be looking for from the class. And then I think you're going to have your Shadur people. You're going to have your people that are going to still go after him and believe in him. And we'll see. I mean, it's a fun storyline this season with quarterbacks. And it's forgotten in all this is Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Drake May. I mean, all these young studs whose cards are doing very well right now, by the way. But what's going to happen for them in their sophomore year? And that's going to be a lot to see. We saw it last year with AR and Levis and Bryce Young and, of course, CJ Stroud having that kind of fall off year where Bryce Young maybe had a come up year. It didn't look so great in the beginning for Bryce Young because you got him, sad stories on the sideline, people saying sorry he got cut or dropped, out of the starting lineup. But I do think with cards, football is that one sport when I think about the hobby that is so volatile week to week. Baseball, we can kind of get away when people have bad games. It's more trend setting, right? Basketball, it's very heightened. Like right now, Anthony Edwards stuff, people are losing their mind over his stuff, right? People are buying Donovan Mitchell again. Are the Cavs going to really do anything? We'll see. There's these kinds of Shea Gilgeous, like his cards through the roof. And I think basketball has always centered a lot around playoffs. And then, in hockey, you kind of have and I'm just giving this to our listeners because it's kind of how I think about things. But like with hockey, you kind of have more of who are the legendary type players? Who are the players that put up the most points? It's not so much about the hype with that. It's more about the production. And then you come to football, and football is just cutthroat, man. I mean, week after week with week 1 to week 7, 18, right? You just have people up and down. And so we'll see. I mean, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Pat Mahomes and, Jalen Hurts and these guys, they are not going anywhere, right? So we'll see how these rookies fare. But I do think a lot of this, you can kind of get some deals and focuses on some of those names I just brought up because there's so much hyper focus on this new rookie class. But we'll see. It's going to be exciting. Do you think Travis Hunter will play wide receiver and defensive back, or do you think he'll just be on one side?
No, I think they'll play them both, and I think that's why Jacksonville. Part of that was not only for the the outside stuff and to have that super famous person, but to utilize a guy both ways.
Yeah.
And I would assume that he's just a freakish athlete. I mean, you watch videos, he's like 360 dunking basketballs and doing all these things. But yeah, I think a great personality for a city that's close to us that certainly needs it. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Why don't you put in a call for him? Bring Travis on over to the Meelypop shop. We can
Yeah.
see how he does in the parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. All right, so now let's get into the meat and potatoes of all this and why we are separated, because you were in Atlanta at the Tops conference. So for those that don't really understand it, and I'm probably one of them, still newbie to all of this, what's the layout of how this event runs? How many people there? I'm sure it's still a pretty nice turnout.
Yeah, shout out to Meat and Potatoes because they had really good food the entire time. That was one
Nice.
plus, of course. So anybody, for our listeners and our viewers who've never been to an industry conference for Tops or heard about what goes on, it's really just a culmination of information and planning and going forward expectations for card shops and breakers. So the way it works is Sunday night they kind of have a welcome thing. You get in College Football Hall of Fame, kind of a cool atmosphere. Big Frank was there, the Big Hurt. So got to spend some time with him. You had Gary V actually speaking about his new product, V Friends, and he was around. So that was kind of a fun Sunday night, get settled. And then a lot of people don't really come to that. They show up for the Monday morning and Monday activities. That's really the heart of the conference. So Monday, that first half of the day, really the first 4 hours from breakfast to lunch is just kind of the corporate expectations, planning. What's going on, where's the industry as a whole. You learn all sorts of wild things from Fanatics and the kind of things that they're doing with Tops and the numbers from social media, Fanatics Live, what's going on with shops, what's coming down the pipeline. So these are all kind of things that we know about, but then kind of seeing in the direction of things where they go. And as we know, Tops is kind of the forerunner for all this. And then after lunch on Monday, they have breakout sessions. Joanna was with us from Meelypops SC. Make sure you go check out her podcast episode, which was great. She went to all the card shop breakout sessions, and I went to all the breaker breakout sessions. And in those, what it really is like, what is everybody else doing? How can we improve? What are, some technologies? What are things that we can do in stores to improve? How do you become better with anti-theft? How do you become better with managing people? How do you become better at social media? Your layout of your store, merchandising, how you sell stuff. Tops Rip Night, we've talked about a ton, and how they incorporate that. The buyback program, how do you make it better? How, here are the averages for every store. It was interesting. Tops buyback baseball per store was something like $8,000-9,000 per store that they're paying out, right? And then UFC was only like $600 or $700, but they announced that they're going to do a WWE buyback as well as a basketball buyback, which I think will be really cool in October. So there's some fun things coming on with that. They tell you about the next Rip Nights and kind of how things are going. But there is this air of kind of like, there's a lot of card shop owners from the old guard. And I'm just being really transparent here, but you got a lot of people who don't want to change. Why are they telling me what to do? I know what to do. I've been successful. I've done this for 30 years. And I'm always in the middle of all. I like listening to both sides of that because I take a lot from it. And then, of course, Monday after you get through these breakout sessions, they take everybody to kind of a kickback, relax. It's called Third Hour or Third Watch or something, or Third Place. It's a chain of places. It's kind of like this giant beer garden, Jeff, with David Adams and Papa Shots. And I feel like it's literally
That's
your
perfect.
Domain. Yeah, it's literally your domain. And so it was great. Food was great. It was funny though, because this is kind of a side note. Anybody who went, I don't know if they were planning for probably 500, 600, 700 people, but they weren't planning for that many card shop men, right? So the food, just every time you went to go look for food, there was no food. It was pretty funny. So that happened on Monday night. I got to meet Tiffany Stratton, WWE. She's actually the buyback card, and she just won WrestleMania. So that was cool. A lot of the wrestling people lost their mind because she's a big deal, and it's Tiffy time. That's a thing, So I'm learning that wrestling crowd is pretty wild. And then, Tuesday comes around, everyone leaves at about 1:00. But on Tuesday, at the conference, it's all about product, which is really fun because you're learning all about the nuances and what's coming with new products down the line from not just cards, but also in the memorabilia world. So that kind of whole world has been, that's what it is. And then at the end, they give you these Tops industry packs, right? And so I was able to bring some of those home for our breakers last night. But I kept one and I let Meredith open it, and look what she hit. It's a little Chipper Jones
Oh,
action. Yeah, we'll superimpose this on the screen. Gold 15 of 15 autograph. So
wow.
yeah, I might have to use that for some sort of maybe next year's fantasy draft. I'll use that for me and you if I can get a better pick or trade with you. So
That's
um,
worth it.
yeah. So in regards to that, I mean that's kind of the layout. It's fun. The overall theme for me a lot of the times is networking and talking to people. There's always card shops and people that I've never heard of, and I meet. Like I met this couple from Southern California they have this shop for 30 or it's like 40 years. It's been passed down, and both the husband and wife are teachers, but yet they still work in the card shop. And it was just kind of cool just seeing all these other people. You get to meet up with all the breakers that and share ideas and realize there's some things that you can take away from everybody. So that whole thing, everyone's really working together in this. There's of course some people beating their chest and look at me and look what I can do. You're always going to have that in every type of industry, but for the most part, I really do think shops really want to help shops, and I'm starting to see that camaraderie grow in the breaking side somewhat, not as much as the shops, but hopefully that's a good lay of the land for you, Jeff.
No, I think that was great. And I think we've learned that, or at least I've learned that from doing these podcasts, is just the relationships and the cohesion that everybody has, and how you like working with each other. And it is always fascinating to see people's ideas, what works, what doesn't work. And and I would assume part of that too is you always have that theater of the mind aspect that you think of from retail. It's like, hey, you might have the same stuff in the store, but if you move it around or move it to a different spot, somebody may have not ever seen it. Now they all of a sudden see it, and it's like, oh, sweet, you got that, or different things. So I think part of that world, and probably what you guys do in card shops and everybody out there, would be to change things around, just always make it look a little bit different.
Yeah. There's so much about merchandising that I'm learning. I mean, I didn't go to school for business. I didn't go to school for learning how to do sales. I went to school to be a therapist, and I worked at a hospital for 12
Yeah,
years. Granted, there's a lot of things that transfer from compassion and rapport and building that with customers. But I do think there's always new ideas in everything, and that's one thing I've learned in this business. And as I talk to other shop owners too, like it's kind of a constant innovation in 2025 with the hobby. Like I would say for the last 5 to 7 years, there's been more changes and things that people have to pivot in really than the last 10, 15 years, and things are constantly changing. Specifically, I would think a lot of that revolves around social media and making your brand aware to a lot of people. And again, it's not that you have to have hundreds of thousands of followers. It's just that you have to have an engaged audience and be consistent with it. So that kind of stuff, is good to talk with everybody. A lot of cool ideas from Tops. I think it's always interesting to see from a corporate level what they want to see umbrella wise for everybody versus individual shops, because this is such a nuanced thing. Every single shop is so different. Every single shop has a different identity. So maybe there's going to be a lot of that friction moving forward, because you have the corporate side saying we need you to be like this, and then you have the small business side saying I'm not going to be like that, right? I
sure.
have my own identity. So it's just interesting.
All right, so you had these break off sessions, and you said you went to the breaking side. Is there anything new in the breaking world that you can give some insight to?
Yeah. So breaking for me has always been mobile based, right? So here's an iPhone. So I have an iPhone here, and we set it up, and we've done a lot of things here. We run a program called OBS, which allows you to kind of run different things on YouTube or Facebook, things like that. But we've never really gotten super into it, and it's not. I think our brand has always been kind of that card shop vibe when you break, and it's been a little bit more laid back. Not as in your face, and it's not as loud as maybe you might see in other breakers, but that's worked for us. But I really am enjoying seeing where things are going, and so like on all of the platforms, Fanatics Live being the main one they're pushing is the Fanatics platform. There were two big things in breaking that I think people would really like to hear about. One of them is they have a product, a repack product now that's completely digital, and I think it's called Odyssey. And again, if I need to go back and edit, but we'll put up a picture of what it looks like. But what it is I think they have $125 and either a $250, $300 version, where of course there's a floor and a ceiling where you can hit huge cards, or you could get half your value back or whatever. And what it is, usually when you have a repack product, you're opening it live and people are seeing it, they're picking their pack that you've remade, whatever, blah blah blah. Well, this is all digital. So what happens is when you have a Fanatics Live account and you rip one of these online packs and you get that card, that Otani, they use this purple refractor that they showed, and you hit that card, nobody has it. The breaker sold it to you, and you're paying for it, but nobody has that card. It's actually at Fanatics. And so then what they do is they say, all right, well, now you have three options immediately. One is you can vault it, which is primarily what happens. It keeps it in their vault. If you want it shipped out, you can get it shipped out from the vault. But two, you could sell it, right? You can put it up on a marketplace immediately and have a price for that card and sell it immediately. Or I think three, I think they have an option with trading. So like I was talking to a guy and he said to me, he goes, my wife told me 20 years ago, he goes, she said, I think there'll be a time when, or a majority of cards are never touched. And I never really thought about that. And I was like, are we moving to a time where people, specifically in the breaking world, are so fixated on the hit and the rush that they don't really care about the pack opening? They just want it now, right? And there is something to be said about that when we think about gambling, or you think about just any type of collecting, right? There isn't a world of people wanting to do it as fast as they can as well. So this is kind of an interesting world. I mean, we'll see the way it works for the shops or the people selling the packs, so people know. And I'm not sure if I should be saying this, but I think it's an 8% or 7% kickback that comes to the shop. So it's a very, very, very small margin that shops even get in it. But it is a way for people who don't have product to kind of sell stuff and be available on these platforms, specifically for Fanatics Live. So that's kind of interesting to me. I don't know, we're a little bit more old school, right, Jeff? We like the tangibility, the sound of the packs, and we love this, that kind of that world. But the truth is, there is a growing market for people who maybe don't care about that as much, right? And they've only known breaking. So that was one thing in breaking that I really kind of was like, are we moving in that direction? It'd be interesting to kind of see how that pans out. And then the second thing, they were showing just a lot of this, like how tech is really starting to change breaking, right? And so me and you might be like, oh, that's cool. You get some sounds on screen, or you get some fun animation, which there's a whole world of animation that I'm learning about and stuff that you can do with pre-breaks and during breaks and post breaks. And, there's ways to create, specific sound bites for specific customers if they hit specific cards, like very, very nuanced, right? Very, very interesting. Like as a buyer, if you're breaking with a guy for, let's say, a month, and then all of a sudden you got a special walk-up song when you hit a card, like that's kind of cool, right? That's a different level of customer service and getting really involved in these breaks. So, and then everybody in the chat is going to know when they hear that song or whatever, or that sound. So it's one of these fun elements. So they literally have like game show breaks, and when I say we're used to seeing shows like The Floor, Jeopardy, or Deal or No Deal, right? They literally had a Deal or No Deal. They had their breaker in a jacket like a game show host. They had a digital wall behind them, and people were buying in and picking numbers of suitcases, and then getting a reward of a repack product. Now they had The Floor, and they had the platinum level, and they had all these different things that you can win. And so that changed like what was left on the board. But they even had a guy come in as a banker, and they had this screen pop in as a banker. And it was this really, really interactive digital break that I think is making things just more lively, more fun. But more importantly, it's really shifting entertainment. If you go on like TikTok now, or you go on and you look at live streaming of just anything, you're seeing like I saw just the other day, like these people that have a pet product, but they set up a whole home shopping network display, and they were on TikTok and they were selling this pet product. And it was like, this is someone who just made this up in their garage, and they literally have created their own network, right? So I think we're moving into a world where with breaks, not only are things becoming highly, technical, highly digital, but much more interactive and much more personal. And so I just think about that. Like if you're in a break room with 150 people and you're the guy doing the Deal or No Deal, and you're the guy picking those things, like that's fun, like that's really cool opportunity. You know what I mean? Like you got an audience, you know what I mean? And so these things are changing, and it's cool to see the innovation in breaking.
Yeah, and so much interaction with that, because you got somebody like telling you to do it, other people telling you not to do it. And it's like when you watch The Price is Right, you look in the audience and everybody's holding up numbers and you don't know what they're doing, but you got to try to win the car and all that. But I think it's great. And certainly any kind of interactive stuff like that is really appealing. So really cool. I'm glad you got to see some of that. So you mentioned the buyback program a little bit as well. Is there anything new with that type of stuff?
Yeah, so you have the buyback program coming, with WWE. They announced that a couple weeks ago. So you got the WWE WrestleMania winners that you can submit those cards, just like with baseball with the MVP. They will have a basketball buyback coming, which will be very interesting. I'm guessing it's just for the MVP, but who knows? Maybe it's Rookie of the Year too. So you have, multiple people that you can do the buyback with. and that's coming in October. And then they announced a really cool program, which I think you're going to love, with Bowman. And so Mike Mahan, he's the CEO. He's a big Jack Caglione fan, and he's probably the biggest, actually, and that might be the reason why he's on all the Tops boxes. But he always, whenever I talk to him about stuff, he's always just pro him, and it's really cool to see. But what they've created is this. It's called Rookie Card Red logo. So the typical rookie card logo is red, white, and blue, and everybody knows what it looks like on a Topps card. But they're going to have an all like redded out rookie card logo. And if you pull these cards of these players, you have the choice to potentially, not like a buyback, it's more like a contest to see if you have the right cards of the right players who over time could potentially, first off, win Rookie of the Year. Second, win MVP, win a World Series, become, win multiple MVPs. And then every time I'm telling you each of one of these tiers, I'm doing a poor job explaining it, but each one of these tiers equals Fanatics money where you can spend on their website. So let's say you pull a Bowman card with a Rookie Red redemption, or Rookie Red logo of a player that you think is going to win Rookie of the Year, and he wins Rookie of the Year. They give you $100 or $200. And then let's say he wins MVP 4 years down the line. They give you like $300 or something. And then let's say he wins the second MVP. Then they give you like $500. And then let's say he wins. I think they had said something too, like if you hold it long enough and they make the Hall of Fame, they would give you $900 or something like that. So it's kind of a fun take on these like base cards of these like, cheaper rookies in Bowman to really take the next level of prospecting, right? I really believe this guy is going to win an MVP one day. Well, prove it, and if you do, you can get paid out really well. So it's interesting to kind of see that world. And of course, those cards, right? If there's going to be a Bowman guy, let's say in the next 3-4 years, Jeff, that isn't super highly touted, but comes out of nowhere and is potential, for winning an MVP one season. Can you imagine what that does to the secondary market then for that wax and as well as for those singles, years later? So that's kind of a cool take on things. I look at it as more, it really fits in that Bowman like niche because so many Bowman people, so many baseball heads like yourself love to kind of predict and, this guy's, he rakes, you know what I mean? Like he's going to be awesome. They're always crazy about certain players. And so put your money where your mouth is. Let's see if that kind of pans out.
It is kind of neat too, because there's a lot of times I looked at a list a couple of weeks ago and it had the top 5 major league prospects since 2018 for every single year. And always on that list, there's 2 or 3 guys that, never panned out. And then there's obviously all the ones that, nobody even thought of that were later on. And now they're doing some great things. So it's an awesome way to look at it. I'm going to dip into my case here.
Ooh.
And since you mentioned the Big Hurt, this is one of my favorite ones. So it's Frank Thomas. And then this is before, like you even told me, I got him to write 93, 94 MVP, AL MVP on it. So I just randomly out of the blue, but he actually broadcasted one of the Gator games that we did. And that was like the, kind of the early 2012, 13, 14-ish times. And he was doing some broadcast stuff. And Brian Johnson, who ended up making the big leagues with the Red Sox, he was a former Gator, a two-way guy, kind of before Cags was. His like favorite guy growing up was Frank Thomas, and he was one of mine as well. So I'm down on the field for batting practice, and he was like so scared to go up to Frank Thomas. And now this is like this college player, this like star, and so he pulls me, Jeff, come over here. So he's like, hey, can you introduce me to the Big Hurt? And I was like, sure. So I bring him over and have this like great conversation. And then the cool thing was the next day, Frank did the game the next day, and he had an autographed jersey for Brian Johnson. Then he left that ball for me for doing that. So, I'm not normally one that asks for autographs when you meet guys in the booth or anything like that, but I thought that was a really cool interaction. So I was excited when you said you got to meet Frank Thomas. Now I'm probably more excited because now I don't care about his autograph. I just need the Nugenics. Did he offer you any Nugenics?
What's funny is I didn't get any Nugenics from him. I've heard people bring bottles of it to get him to sign it.
Really?
But at the event on Sunday night, it would have been they missed the marketing thing there, right? Like they maybe because you got all these middle-aged, later age men, who necessarily aren't in the best shape, so might have low T or whatever going on. So they missed a big opportunity. Maybe he could have passed out samples or something when you got to meet him. So I got to spend some time with him just briefly, and got there's a huge line that people are waiting in and everybody wants to get in it. But the thing about him is a consummate professional. He was just so nice, and I was near the end of the line, and just kind of said to him, like, I said, between you and Griffey, man, like you were my '90s childhood, watching baseball. I was a Cardinals fan. Ozzie didn't hit home runs, but I was like, I mean, you guys were just everything. And so I said, thank you for all that. And he's just so appreciative and kind, and talked to you a little bit. And I know we were at the end of the line, so I wasn't really pushing things.
Sure.
I did have, and so it was great. Big Hurt was great. I mean, and he's still a big dude, man. He's a big dude, man. Still, so it's great to see that, and just a big smile on his face, and just being there for all the card people, because he really was him and Griffey quintessential rookie cards in the early '90s, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
that's what everybody wanted. Jeter as well in that mix. But another funny story is there was an opportunity to meet a WWE superstar on Monday night at the kind of breakout, and her name is Tiffany Stratton, and so I have had a bunch of WWE cards come through the shop, and we've had a lot of this autographs of actually not her but Trish Stratus. And so I don't know what it was. They're both blondes, and in my mind, when I went up there, I want to say congratulations, Tiffany, but I actually said congratulations, Trish. And so she looked at me and she goes, "My name's Tiffany," and I was like, "I'm so sorry." Like I'm just had a mind blank, and like she kind of, I don't know if she was in character, or like because the WWE kind of have that character thing persona, or if she was truly mad because she kind of like threw up her fish, like I'm pissed, like, and I'm like, I think she was kind of playing into it a little bit, and it was really funny, but I now know I will never mispronounce her name again, because I had so many people just laughing about it. They actually filmed the video, or they were
Yeah.
taking
So I saw
pictures.
the Instagram post. That was awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, just goofy Jameel at end of a day calling Tiffany Stratton Trish. But yeah, and the wrestling people, they threw me through the fire for that, because that's one of their girls. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, fun time, good time with. But those folks are great. Both of the people they brought. I mean, there have been events, and I'm not going to name names, if they brought people to not just Tops but Upper Deck and Panini, and you're like, these people don't want to be here at all. That was not the case with these folks.
Yeah, no, they're there to. I'm sure they enjoy it too. So, is there anything that you learned about some new sports products that are maybe coming out?
Yeah, so I mean, sports, there's so many things happening with the licenses, right? So with basketball, for example, they went over kind of Chrome and the buyback program. They went over all the different things that are going to be coming out through, the basketball kind of line of cards. They showed us LeBron autographs and what those look like. So you're going to see, cheaper Tops products, Tops paper products. You're going to see the Chrome, and you're going to see the high end. Some of the soccer things, if you got folks who like soccer, I was able to see some of the new autographs that they have. And one of the big names that they landed is Sir Alex Ferguson. So he's kind of like a legend coach. He's the Paul Bear Bryant, almost in a way, of the Premier League and really English soccer for Manchester United for all those years with Ronaldo, Rooney, even going way farther back, and all the Scholes and all the people from those years that Manchester United was so dominant. So he's signing in some of the new soccer product that's coming out. They have a big rookie class for F1, so they went through the F1 products and kind of talked about the new autograph classes. And then Lewis Hamilton, who just was at the actual Fanatics shop opening in London just this past weekend. I think it was Saturday or Friday. In London, they opened up a Fanatics store. It's the third card shop in the entire UK, I think is what they said.
Wow.
And there was 5,000 or 6,000 people that showed up, and it was crazy. It was very controlled chaos, is what I heard from the people that went to the event. But he's going to Ferrari, the Scuderia, I think it's how I pronounce it, and he's going to be in a different uniform, different driving, different team. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Lewis Hamilton, arguably the greatest F1 driver ever, reacts to being on a different team. So his cards are going to be super sought after. They talked a lot about baseball products coming down the line. We're going to see some things like dual logo mans, which usually you see a single logo man in Dynasty, which is a really expensive card, but you might see a dual one like with Acuna and Tatis, or they had some dual cut autographs. They had one with George Sisler and Ichiro, because Ichiro
Wow.
broke that record. And so that's a one. Like, so they're trying to do some unique things with commemorative 101s. They have I guess the Willie Mays 24 patch. They have a line of that coming out with Willie Mays cards. People who've worn his that patch on those days. So I think that there's some unique innovation happening on the baseball side. Excuse me. You have the football side with just all sorts of new products coming through the line, and it does kind of feel a little overwhelming because of the amount of stuff happening. But I will say this about new products as well. WWE is a big focus for them, and Michael Rubin was talking about it on the Tuesday near the end, where he just said it was just a property, intellectual property. The WWE, this a group of fans, 5-6 million that are just really, really fanatical, and it's a massive, massive growth amongst card shops, and seeing people come to cards and get into cards was through the WWE. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. They're going to have more high end work with that. They were saying that they've obtained all, like The Rock, for example. They said that they obtained a pair of boots from The Rock. He doesn't give out anything. Like, he doesn't give out anything that he ever did wrestling. He kept everything. So the Rock game used or event used, autograph cards in the future will be big, big money. So these kinds of things, I think you're seeing with the Fanatics has the ability to tap in, right, to all these players and direct and get the authenticity and get all these unique things. So we're going to see that come out in cards, and that's only going to make things, even better. But
Sure.
yeah, I could go into hours and hours on the new products from sports. It was a lot of cool stuff.
So, I mean, you have the sports side, but then, I mean, so much we talk about the entertainment side too. So I'm assuming probably the same case, a lot of different things coming out.
Yeah. So on entertainment, as I've talked about in this podcast many times, like Meelypops is known for doing a lot of non-sports, right? For doing a lot of these things that I think Star Wars being one of the big ones. And so they showed us kind of their intellectual properties. They showed us the things that are coming down the pipeline for products and then new franchises. So some of the sets that are brand new for entertainment, which is kind of interesting. So they have the Disney license now, and they're going to have this whole slew of Disney cards. They're going to be coming out. They're going to have focuses of Disney, not just on the whole run, but they're going to have like Pixar focus. They're going to have a Toy Story set. They're going to have a princess set. Like, they're going to do a lot of things that I think are going to get a much younger crowd very involved in cards. And again, the one thing I think about, is the female, right? Like that may want the young girl collector that might want to get into it, that might feel a little overwhelmed or out of place. Whereas, maybe they're building some things that are going to be, much more fun. So it's not just so male centric. So that's a very interesting world, the Disney world, and the Disney Chromes that are going to come out. And they actually have autograph cards now. Like, for example, I saw they have Tom Hanks for, Woody autograph cards. Like, Tom Hanks doesn't sign anything. They have Will Smith, like, for Genie, like Aladdin. He doesn't sign anything. Like, these are the first time you're going to see some of these big time names in the entertainment world on cards. So the characters and the voices behind them, I think when you think about some of these names, it's quite amazing, right? I think I saw Tim Allen as well for Buzz Lightyear. So,
Wow.
imagine pulling a Tim Allen Woody, dual autograph card out of Disney like that. That's probably going to sell for a lot of money. The Superfractor one will be a huge card. They have a Dune set coming out, and they were talking about Christopher Walken autographs and Jason Momoa autographs. So there's a lot of entertainment product coming down the line. The SpongeBob set, the 25th anniversary, like, you might be like, oh, that seems silly, but like, everybody like my age and younger grew up on like Nickelodeon, so there hasn't really been a cool Nickelodeon, Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life, Doug,
Look at
Rugrats,
you.
SpongeBob, like that kind of stuff. Like, they don't have that, right? So this will be one of those things that I think a lot of people will really flock to. And then the one world that I think is going to be interesting is Marvel, because for Upper Deck for so long they've had this Marvel license and they've done good things with it from the comic side, but they haven't really done enough, I feel like, when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which you have all these actors, all these people involved. And so they had said, like, we are obtaining relics and things from these movies, one of them being Captain America's shield. And they were like, the film used shields, like, we're going to cut up and put in cards and have Chris Evans sign that stuff. So, like, they're doing some really unique things that I think are going to really get people excited about that in the Marvel world. New autographed guests and stuff as well in those sets. But time will tell, because I know that the hard part has been as this transition from kind of the Upper Deck licenses and other licenses into these new licenses. How will it do? And then also, what's the price point going to be for all this? Because I think that's where the rubber meets the road when it comes to entertainment products.
Yeah, that'll always be the key. I mean, everybody, I think would love all that stuff. Hopefully, make it reasonable enough for the little people like us to be able to go out and try to find it. But I think it's a great idea. I mean, just to incorporate all that. I mean, that's what you do. You get in the world of sitting there watching a movie or reading a book, and you fall in love with these characters, and they're iconic to you. Like, for us, it's Frank Thomas, but for somebody else, it is a Disney princess. So I think it's a really coal thing that everything's doing. You've talked a lot about the breakers and different things. I was reading a little bit, about it, and I saw that there might be a new evaluative method for shops and breakers. Did they talk about that at the conference?
They didn't just talk about this. The evaluative method is going to become kind of a scorecard. And so all shops in general are going to be, and not just shops, but breakers are going to be kind of seen on this scorecard and evaluated, and that's going to affect allocation. So when they say that, right, two things go through my mind. One is I'm kind of glad that there's accountability now for some things. There's been a lot of shops over the past, really since the industry started, that haven't been held accountable, but have these massive contracts and they have all this product, but they're not really doing anything with it for the hobby. So I'm thankful that there's going to be an accountability side of it. The one thing that I think is tricky is there's such a big corporation. How are they going to really, check in on all these shops and do all these kind of evaluative methods? It's going to be kind of a one-time thing. So they mentioned things like secret shopper and, coming in a break. So like, who's to say you have a slow break night or something, or it's not busy or it's not interactive? Like if a secret shopper comes in during these times and is evaluating your breaking operation, like, is that truly fair to your, what you're doing? So there's got to be some takeaways in this that I think they're going to have to change, but it's going to affect how shops get allocated product. And they brought up a lot of other things, how much you're buying from Tops. They brought up what your shop looks like, how you're involved in the community and the events that Tops puts on. So there's going to be a lot of factors that kind of play into this evaluative method. But I kind of think it's a good thing. I think it's going to weed out a lot of the shops that are not trying, that are not putting forth the effort to maybe hire some more employees or do something better with their internal shops. I mean, we're expanding our unit. We're getting into another unit, and it just kind of is what it is, right? So I think that it was good. I'm happy that they have it coming down the pipeline. It'll just be interesting to see how it's implemented.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think it's certainly needed. All right, before we stop talking about all the fun stuff, it's very overwhelming, and I know there's a lot rattling through your brain, and it might be a weird question, but I mean, is there one thing you took away from the conference more than anything else? I know a lot of little things certainly that you'll be able to utilize and that are great, but is there like one thing that was like, holy smokes, wow, that's awesome?
Yeah, I would say this. I think just moving forward, running shops and running breaking operations are not, it's not gonna be for the faint of heart. You're gonna have to really be not just savvy, but really committed to these growing. And again, a lot of the people that are in it are gonna do that. But moving forward, the expectations are going to grow and grow and grow. And so I think you're going to see a lot of good shops and you're going to see a lot of bad shops. I think that's where there's going to be this split, parting of the Red Sea, so to say. And then the other side of it, the biggest takeaway I would say is simply that the industry is really growing, and I think things like social media, Tops has taken their accounts from, I think they said 185,000 followers in 2023 year end to 2.85 million followers in a year and a half. So like those kinds of things, we're growing just on that side, but the market is going to get bigger and we are going to see more and more people involved in cards, which is great. And players, I mean, they talked just about the amount of baseball players that are collecting now. It's amazing to see. And I think it's fun that we're a part of this. And it's fun that I get to be a part of this now as our shop has kind of matured a little bit,
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. Good stuff. All right, we're gonna take a break. I'm going to ask you to maybe you talk about the new build and the shop there. You're in the shop, so maybe you can walk around a little bit and show it off, and then we'll talk about some of the new wax. Sound all right?
Sounds good.
All right, we'll do that. We'll take a break. We'll come back and give you a little tour when you're listening to the Meelypod Hobby Podcast.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
This is Jameel, owner of the Meelypop shop, Gainesville's home for collectibles of all sorts, including every single type of sports cards, whether it be Panini, Topps, Leaf, Upper Deck. We have it. Come on in, get yourself a box, a pack, get yourself some supplies, get into our breaks, get your Pokemon, get your Yu-Gi-Oh! All the other different kinds of TCG products that we carry and shop are always fully in stock. You can find our stuff on our website as well, meelypops.com. That's another way you can interact with the store, or you can just come into the shop. We're located off 39th Avenue by I-75 behind Walgreens and Sonny's. Stop on by. We're open every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you can check us out on our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, whatnot, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'd love to see you. Come on out to the shop, have some fun, be a part of the card community here in Gainesville, and always go Gators.
All right, we welcome you back to the Meelypod Hobby Podcast, Jeff and Jameel. Well, I guess I thought we were going to get a tour, but apparently they're working. Jameel, they're getting after it, which is a good thing because you can't get over there. You don't want to get so much sawdust on that pretty face of yours.
Yeah, well, I also have to get a place. They have to carve out a big massage chair space for you because you have all those recommendations when you come over, and I got to get the tiki bar and everything put in. So I don't want to blow the surprise. No, they're working really hard over there. There's sawdust everywhere, and they're demoing, and they're doing that whole world. So what's happening with our shop is we're expanding. We haven't really announced this anywhere yet. We'll put it on social media and things. We'll put some pictures up as well during this podcast of what we're doing. But we're needing more space. And, if you've been to our shop here in Florida, we started out with this E100 unit, and then we needed space 2 years later. So we took over the next unit. And then now we're needing more space years later for breaking, for shipping, for grading, just for a general meeting. We have no general meeting space. We share so much space here. So looking forward to it. Hopefully it'll be done end of June. That's the hope. We got a lot of things going on, but it's really, we're going to be building out breaking rooms and specialty meeting rooms. And it's going to be great to talk through some of that because I'm learning just a lot about, who knew that there was special drywall for, audio, right? And
Yep.
I mean, maybe you do because you're a mecca in the broadcasting world, but little things like that, where we want to make sure that we have an experience. We create studios in areas where it's the best and the lighting is good and it makes the most sense for the customer. So yeah, we're building that out, and maybe we'll do a future episode when they're not when it's not all destroyed and looks like sawdust everywhere.
Okay, sweet. No, that'll be awesome. And I know you're really excited about that. Gainesville's got to be really excited about it, and certainly everybody that'll be a part of the breaks and everything else. That's awesome. All right, new wax. We got anything coming out exciting this week?
Yeah, so there's two releases that I think about, and then there's another release that I'm kind of really excited about, kind of out of right field. But Topps Chrome Black Baseball, which is kind of a fun product. It's got that kind of one pack, one sealed card in it. We always sell out of it every year. It's just kind of a fun looking product that they just look good. They have that kind of chrome black technology, the refractors and so on and so forth. So that's this week. On top of that, the big high end basketball release is here. 23-24 Flawless, Panini Flawless basketball, which everyone knows Flawless being kind of one of the big dogs up there with national treasures. The Wembanyama items, the game used items that come in this. So it's just a super sought after product. There's some very expensive cards in it. I think I saw retail was around 23, 25,000, I think, for a case. And so just a high end basketball product and good release timing, right? Because we're in the playoffs and there's some fun stuff going on with basketball. And so I think if you pull a nasty Anthony Edwards or Shai Gilgeous or something outside of the rookies, you're going to be doing pretty well. Luka won't be in, he definitely won't be in Lakers gear in that product yet. Because still haven't got that stuff yet down the pipeline. That's coming. And then a product that I am excited about for just a lot of reasons, but Upper Deck has a Fleer Scooby-Doo product coming out. And so, you just made the Scooby-Doo noise. Literally. It's a product that will have just kind of our childhood and the cartoons. And I think just like the Looney Tunes product that Upper Deck made not too long ago, I think it'll do very well. And some other ones coming out as well this week. We have Topps Midnight Bundesliga Soccer. We have Panini Phoenix Hybrid Football, which is a kind of a cheaper version of I know hybrid products have been doing very well. So that should be fun. You get a lot of numbered rookies in it. And then shout out to my family in England, but Prism English Premier League Soccer is coming out. And that is fun because my mom's hometown, Ipswich Town, made the Premier League last year. So they have cards in this. Now they might get relegated again and get knocked down, but they'll be at least in a Panini Prism product. So I'll have to send some of those boxes to my family members.
Speaking of that, I saw really quick on a side note that, Ryan Reynolds bought the, Wrexham for like $2 million or something. And now the evaluation is like $100 million, which
Yeah,
is
and
just absolutely insane.
well, they also might make the Premier League because they're going to graduate again now to the second league. And then they have the opportunity, if they could get top 3 in that division, which again, they have more money now, they get better players, that
Yeah.
Wrexham could be in the Premier League next season, or the following season, which is crazy to me to think that a team that was like, that would be like saying like, I don't even know what the lowest minor league baseball is, but like that lowest, what I know, because I know COVID changed things, but lowest minor league baseball team just in the matter of 5 years becoming a major league baseball team. Like that's crazy. Like that doesn't happen, right? Like that could never happen in America. So it's a fun story. Could you imagine if you lived in a little town of Wrexham and you were there and just got to experience this? How fun would that be?
Yeah, totally awesome. Well, I know our next podcast can be a lot of fun too. It's a guy you've known for a long time, guy that's been doing it for a long time, but anxious to hear about sports card grading once again.
Yeah, so I mean, it's good that we venture into all different worlds in this podcast. And so Andy Broom from CGC, and shout out to CGC as they've come on, and they're just a great. They do so much, right? Like they do so much. They're here in Florida. Great company that's grading. They do a lot in the TCG space, the coin space. They're the number one name for comics, when it comes to grading. And so they've cracked it into sports card grading, into TCG grading over the past, 7 years now. And it'd be great to talk to Andy, not just about like, the future and what he's seeing with CGC on the sports card side, but more so like you might be able to get some questions in about how to grade some of your stuff and what to look for. And that I think is the best thing. What is a grader looking at? How long does a grader have to look at things? And I'll come up with some hard questions for him. So we'll have a good time with him and Andy from CGC as he's the senior grader for the sports card division for them. And that'll be a good episode 39 we're up to, I think.
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Well, it was a good episode 38. Glad you enjoyed the Tops conference. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the podcast, learned a little bit more about all the exciting things that are happening. And certainly this industry continues to grow, and new and better and greater things continue to come on the landscape. And Jameel will do a great job of making sure that everybody gets to be a part of all that and is involved in everything. So great stuff as always.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, just keep an eye out on our social platforms. We just put out a video for Fanatics Fest with Gronkowski and what we're doing for that, which is really fun. We have so many things coming down the pipeline. Collecticon Orlando this in May, which is a massive event for us on the non-sports side and the sports side. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then of course the National in July. So a lot of things happening this summer. Still working on some autograph signings and things to do as well. But more importantly, man, we're thankful for the podcast. If you have any questions about the Tops conference, or you wanted some questions answered, you didn't, feel free to reach out to me. You can always DM our Instagram account, @Meelypops, or @Meelypops@gmail.com for a email. But I'm always willing to help. I always try my best to get to every message because I think education is key in all this. And hopefully that gives you a little tidbit today into the industry conference. We wanted to give that back to you guys because we thought a guest would be great, but let's just do something a little different. So that's what we did today.
That education aspect is one of the greatest things that Jameel has for us here in the community. All right, Jameel. Thanks, buddy. For Jameel, I'm Jeff. We'll talk to you next time on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast.
Thank you for joining us. We will see you next Thursday at noon.